tonight's talk title is Curiosity Killed the Cat, but Satisfaction Brought It Back. And really, our work here is it's a journey through shadow work, through silence, and the talk tonight is about the power of curiosity. So here we go. All right. So, have you ever been told, ever, that curiosity could be dangerous? That asking too many questions could get you hurt or could hurt you? Or worse yet, make you unlovable, right? The stories that we make up in ourselves. So we've all heard the warning, curiosity killed the cat, but that's only half the story. I think some of us know this. The full proverb is that curiosity killed the cat, but then satisfaction brought it back. And, the second part of it changes everything. So today I want to invite you into that in between space. The moment when curiosity feels like, ooh, this is going to annihilate me. Like it feels like death, like I shouldn't be curious about this. And yet with that curiosity, it leads to profound rebirth. I mean, just think about the very first or second or third worksheet you did. It's like, oh, it's that, ooh, I'm curious about this, but something's going to shift. And that's what we're talking about today. And this is especially relevant for us who are actively doing shadow work, because it's not what happens that forms our shadow, but that what we were taught not to ask, because that's how shadows are formed. That's how shadows are born, right? What we were taught to suppress or deny or abandon or hide. So I'm going to share with you my own curiosity and when it was first tested. So let's see. Okay. So I'm just going to share with you a story here. And you can read the screen. It's exactly what the shadow is, right? So when I was 14, I'd grown up with a single parent, my mom. And when I was 14, I reunited with my father after 10 years of separation. And so my mother, my sisters, my grandmother, and I were part of the refugee wave that fled Vietnam. This was like in the late 70s. And I had carried dreams of renewal to see my dad after 10 years of separation. So when I finally met him again, I was 14 years old. And what I walked into really shattered that dream. I found out when I met my dad that he had a new family. He had another family when he was away. There was another woman, and then there was another child. And so I was told by the adults not to ask any questions, that this other woman was unclean and that the child was born out of wedlock, and we just don't talk about it, that we must never speak of them. So I learned then that, hey, truth has boundaries and that curiosity is dangerous. So I buried my question. And so I buried my questions. And so like this slide here, these are parts of us that we suppress, deny, disowned. And it forms in childhood and adolescence and even young adulthood. It's rooted in fear or shame, silence, survival. We all know this. And I have a quote here that says, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. And I know I'm speaking to the choir. You are my people, because you're the ones who run face first at the face of danger, right? So I know that I'm able to talk about it, and you would get it, because most people out there, they might not want to talk about it because they don't know how to deal with it. And worst of all, you've ever heard people say, well, I don't want to hang my dirty laundry out there. Well, guess what? We all have it. So why not wash it, right? All right. So here's the point. Shadow isn't just in childhood. And I've said this already. So I'm going to pause right here and just take a reflection because it's really important, because we always think that shadow work is only in early childhood. And yes, a lot begins there, but shadows also form during adolescence. Now, remember, I was 14 years old, and those are in moments of emotional rupture, of betrayal, of silence, like when you're stunned, right? Developmentally, from ages 14 to 24, it's still all about identity formation. This is where many of us face, I would say, like a second wounding, when we reenact old patterns or absorb new limiting beliefs through trauma, through disillusion, or simply unmet needs. So if you're doing this work and wondering, why do I keep thinking about what happened in my 20s or my late teens? This is the reason why. That is very, very, it happens frequently. And the shadow isn't just about the past, it's about any part of us that got locked away in order to belong, in order to survive. Now, those of us who are nines on the Enneagram, you might know exactly what I'm talking about, because it's almost like we say, oh, well, okay, I can go this way or I can go that way, and just to make peace for it, right? So for me, the suppression of curiosity didn't end there. It deepened in the silence that followed. And when I learned that silence wasn't just expected, it was also enforced. So the shadow, these are some of my personal stories. And I thought I'd make it personal because why not, right? We're just doing our shadow thing. And I'm like everybody else, I have stuff. So I'm using my stories to share with you. Let's see. So when I learned that silence wasn't just expected, it was enforced, I just I didn't know what to say back then. The shadow just kept forming and forming because I had to live with my father for about 2 years. I really, really wanted to rebuild something with him and to believe in family, because I remember when I was a child growing up in grade school, I had these fantasies about dad and who he was, because mom always said, oh, your dad is this way and that way. And I was really excited to meet him. Um, but dad was he was a raging alcoholic, and he was also very violent, um, and he had put my mom in the hospital a couple times, and remember, I grew up with a single mom, very quiet household, and it was shocking for me. So if anybody asked any questions, we got hit. So I didn't ask, I didn't speak, and I learned to freeze. I walked on eggshells. I scanned for danger. It's alcoholic household, right? I scanned for danger, and I kept my truth tucked inside. I didn't even know what my truth was at that point. And that silence, I don't know if you can resonate with this, but that silence, um, it didn't just keep me safe. It became sort of a cage. It became a cage for me. At this point. So um, let me move to the next slide. Um, so I listed these because these are kind of the stories that I'm going to share with you. Some family stuff, violence and control, heartbreak, art. And this is all relatable because we all have our share of stories, right? So this is about the shadow and the nervous system. That's where the shadow intersects with the nervous system. That when we experience fear or threat, we often respond by fawning, like deer in headlights, freezing, appeasing. They're survival patterns that became part of our identity, became my identity. And we mistake silence for strength. And in our society, we mistake compliance for peace, because we're not really integrated. We're not embodied in our truth. We don't even know what our truth is because we were so young, right? But the truth is, what kept us safe may now be keeping us really, really small. So when we do our shadow work, we're healing from the inside out. So when we explore our shadow with curiosity, with compassion, we're not just reclaiming these old memories, but we're liberating our nervous system from the habits of fear. We're freeing the energetic cycle that's stuck in our body, and that, my friends, is radically healing, radically. So I'm going to go back to the story. And healing, healing doesn't happen all at once. Sometimes it shows up in moments that crack us open, moments that seem like betrayals. And those betrayals become mirrors for us, right? And so I'm going to share with you from the age of 17 to 23, late adolescence, early 20s. I was at that time, okay, so my mom passed away when I was 16. That's why I lived with my dad for 2 years. Like my mom and dad were together. She passed away of a second stroke. And so I was pretty much on my own. I lived with my sister for a year, but I was working and I could put myself through college. So from 17 to 23, I had a 5-year relationship with a man, with someone I loved with my whole heart. He was like my first love, and I poured everything into the relationship. I forgave his jokes. I overlooked the cracks, and I convinced myself that it was enough, because I was really in love, right, at that time. If you can think back to when you were the first time you had found love. And then after being in a 5-year relationship, like my sisters accepted him, and we were really integrated. I found out that he had cheated on me for those 5 years, and the betrayal really, really hurt. But what hurt more was that I had known deep down, but I didn't want to see it. My friends would say, "Hey, he's no good for you." And I said, "Oh, you guys don't know. Like, we had a really close relationship." So I had abandoned myself to be loved. That's a very familiar story with young women, right? Abandoning myself for the sake of being loved. And in doing so, I ignored the part of me that really knew the truth, because somewhere down there, we all kind of know. In this moment, when I found out, really, it broke me open. It shattered me, but it also invited me to a new question. And that question was this: what was the pain itself trying to teach me? What was the pain itself trying to teach me? I got really, really curious about that, because I don't remember a time that I cried so much, not through the whole family trauma thing, not through my mom's passing, but this relationship, it cut really, really deeply. So another form of shadow. All right. So make sure. Okay, good. I'm on the right slide. So the shadow gift, this is what we want to focus on, right? What you had to hide to survive is often the greatest gift. Anger becomes boundaries, your sensitivity becomes your intuition, your creativity becomes your purpose. So, I shared that story with you. One of the most common shadow dynamics is self-abandonment. We often, this is just being human, we often project our worth onto relationships, onto careers, and we try to receive validation from an outer source. And when those things fall apart, we feel broken, not just by them, but by the truth that we refused to see. And so, shadow work, the work that we do here, helps us to reclaim those parts of ourselves we gave away to be accepted. Those parts of us that we said, I don't matter. It's further from the truth, right? There's nothing further. This is why betrayal can be such a powerful teacher. It shows us where we split from our true inner knowing. And sometimes that split shows up not just in how we love, but how we create or how we don't create. We're doing good on time. I just checked. Okay, another story here for you. I hope you guys are enjoying my stories, because they may They made me cry a lot, but I think that they're for, a higher purpose. So here it is. So when I was 15 and a half, that I had taken an art class to fill my schedule. I had shared with you that my mom passed away when I was 16. And so my teenage years, I was a very serious student, Asian family. It's like, you got to go study, go do your math, science, English, etc. And I was in honors and AP college track, but I fell in love with art because I had to take an elective. I entered an art contest when I was 15 and I received an honorable mention I was living in LA at the time, at the LACMA, the Los Angeles Contemporary Museum of Art. And it was huge. It was really, really big, but I downplayed it because my family saw art as play, not purpose. So I let that part of me go silent. For decades, I didn't touch art or creativity again because of the whole string of events that unfolded in my life. This was 15 when I was taking that art class. And then my mom passed away when I was 16. So I had to get really serious at life. So, and I didn't want to, I couldn't play anymore. This is what I told that story I made up. And the shadow just kept, festering and festering until I was 45. 45 years old. How many years is that? That's 30 years, right? And I was just called, like there's this inner knowing that Christ consciousness within that drives us to unfold.
Mhm.
So I was 45 and something inside me woke up and I looked at the art center curriculum and there was a clay class. And I remember Ghost. Does anybody remember Ghost, watching that movie when
Yeah.
Patrick Swayze and I don't remember her name, but they were doing their part. I was like, oh, that sounds like fun. I'm going to take
Mhm.
it just as a hobby. Um, but when I took it, a part of me reawakened because I
Mhm.
was touching mud. I was touching the earth. And it wasn't just a hobby, it was a homecoming. It was almost, I mean, we just had Easter. It was almost a resurrection because it woke me up. And it's been, I don't know, 7 years now. And I love clay. I'm going to be teaching clay at the art studio here. So they had asked me to do that. So I'm thrilled, right? Reclaiming the shadow process. Okay. All right, a few more slides, and then we can just chat about this. So every shadow holds a gift when we approach it with curiosity, because sometimes you could talk to another person and you're like, oh yeah, you're just having a shadow moment. But when it's you and it's really, really um, lodged in your physical being and your energetic being, um, it could be tough, long deep breaths, right? But when we approach it with curiosity and see it as a gift, then we start to pivot and we ask the right questions. Um, so I was saying that every shadow holds a gift, and it's a quality you had to hide in order to survive at some point, to make do, to get accepted. And for some, it's anger. For others, it's tenderness. For me, well, it's creativity. Like I didn't even realize I was creative until that reawakening. I've always been creative, but I didn't recognize it in myself because it was my shadow, which is very weird because today I'm integrated and I'm going, how could I have lived all those years without my creativity? But that was the path that I took, right? Okay, so it's this integration is the essence of what we're talking about. You remember who you were before the world taught you who to be. When you do your shadow work, you just reclaim yourself. So how do we begin this process? Well, we already know. We do our worksheets, right? So, 3 steps for shadow integration. Number 1, you notice, where am I triggered? Any kind of emotion or triggering moment, you want to ask that question. These are the 3 questions for curiosity. And then you want to name it. Okay, what's this emotion or reaction? I know you all are pros because you're teaching and you're integrated and you're able to name the emotion. When I first got certified, I don't know, 10, 12 years ago, I didn't even know how to name my emotions. Like, I don't know. I think other people are in this situation, but it's like, oh, right, abandoned. That's not an emotion at all. But you get good at recognizing this is an emotion, this isn't. I'm reacting, I'm triggered, I'm going to breathe. So the third N is nurturing. How can I bring love to this part of me? Okay, you recognize your trigger, you see the emotion, and then you go to your inner child. I always see my inner child as almost another being. I know she lives in me, but for me, to advocate for her is to advocate for me. I know I'm talking in paradox here, but I think you can follow. But I always look at the inner child as though she is like, my question is, how would I treat my inner child if she was my physical child? How would I talk to her? How would I embrace her? And this is what you want to keep in mind at those moments when you're triggered. It's like, oh, I'm triggered. Take a breath and go, okay, little girl. Some of us have names for our inner child. I don't. I just call her little. I might call her Mei Mei. That means little sister in Chinese. So Mei Mei, I know you're feeling. That's good. That's really, really good. So let's just breathe and not do anything for a moment and just be okay. So, like, I would literally talk to myself in that way. And sometimes I excuse myself outside the room. Sometimes I go in my car, etc. But this is part of the growing up process for me. Um, and how do I nurture this inner child? How do I bring love to this part of me? And when we do our worksheets and we get to the authentic action, that's what it's all about. The authentic action is to do something that would give you the felt sense of what you need showing up in your Q quality, um, and being with that child within, the little girl, the little boy, some of us within, to really befriend your inner child, to advocate for your inner child. I've been calling myself an inner child advocate. So
Okay.
I'm advocating for my own inner child. And when I work with my clients, when I work with other people who are doing the shadow work, I'm advocating for their inner child. What does your inner child need? And we almost have to consider it like a different entity so that people can understand, because a lot of us grow up in this custom that we don't really know how to accept. We can give a lot. We're all givers, but how do we receive? Well, you're not receiving it for you, you're receiving it for the inner child. And when that inner child is taken care of, guess what? She doesn't throw a fit. She feels happy, she feels joy. And it's a good thing for the world because now you and she are integrated. And forgive me for using the pronoun she, I'm just talking about my inner child. So it's a very, very good thing. All right. So we all know as we're doing this process that it's daily work every single day. Sometimes moment by moment, because you can have like triggers upon triggers. And then you just stop and breathe. Okay. Okay. This is daily work. It's not about fixing anything. It's not about rushing. It's not even about therapy. It's just about listening, being that non-anxious presence for yourself, for that baby within, that sacred Christ child within, and listening with curiosity instead of judgment. It's such a powerful word because when you're curious people ask questions. Oh, I'm curious about that. Oh, that hurt so much. I'm so curious about what happened in the past that created this shadow that I don't recognize. It's getting, okay, I'm curious about the pain that's happening in the pit of my stomach, or the headache that I'm getting in the back of that. That's very curious. How did that come about? What parts of my body is tight because of it? Where does this energy live in my body? Because if you can identify, it's the same thing. If you can see it, then you can release it. But if you can't see it or identify it or name it, then it always lives in the shadows, literally, right? Okay. Almost there. So, here's the question: what part of yourself are you most afraid to meet?
Hmm.
Some of us might be answering that question going, I think I go in rage mode when someone doesn't, like when I clean the kitchen and someone leaves breadcrumbs on the counter. Some of us might be answering that way, like, oh, my pet peeve is like when the bowl is open and they just don't close it or they don't flush it, whatever. Some of us might be afraid of recognizing our own greatness because we may not feel worthy of being loved or whatever the case may be. So, what if instead of being afraid, what if being afraid of the pain or the wall, um, instead of being afraid, instead of running, instead of saying, oh, I'll just write that down later, I'll do a worksheet on it later. What if you just got really curious in the moment and just be present to yourself? I don't know about you, but my spiritual healing is very elusive. Like I'm working, I get triggered, and I go, okay, I'm gonna work on that. I'm gonna do a worksheet on that. But the moment that I forget to write it down somewhere, 2 seconds late, 2 minutes later, like, what was I so upset about? What was that shadow thing again? I can't remember, but that's a missed opportunity. So I've learned from my own experience to say, oh, I got triggered. Great. I'm going to text myself what I was triggered about, like just one keyword to remind myself to go back to the worksheet and do a worksheet on that teeny tiny little paper cut thing that turns out to be a huge gift. I'm sure you've experienced this if you've been around long enough, right? Okay. Um, where am I? Okay. So we want to find the light in the dark. And yes, curiosity can oftentimes feel like death. Curiosity, when we follow it through, it kills the illusions. It disrupts our identities. It makes us feel like we're coming undone, like we're unraveled. But the good news, there's the other side. Satisfaction brings us back. It brings us back to our truth, to our wholeness, to ourselves. And shadow work is not about fixing who you are. You're not broken. It's about reclaiming who you've always been before you were told to leave that person behind. So, this is the slide for it, right? What part of yourself are you most afraid to meet? And what if instead of running, you got really, really, really curious? So, here's the call to action. I'm going to invite you tonight to take a small step. Choose one small act of curiosity. You can journal, sit, reflect, make art, touch clay, draw something, write that letter, ask the hard question because your curiosity is not dangerous. It's divine. It wakes you up. It may crack you open, but that's what we're here to do. That's what makes us the bravest people in the world. This is my opinion. It's brave stuff. And it just might bring you back to life. With that, my friends, I am complete. So I'm going to stop share and we can discuss.
Well, thank you. That was very relatable, extremely relatable, and your personal story. Some of that I can relate to personally myself, and yeah, what a wonderful way to describe that. And I do have to say that there are times when I am upset about something, and I will just stop and say, okay, what is this about?
Yeah.
And try to do a worksheet in my head, more or less.
Yes.
So it was very good. Thank you so much.
Good. Wonderful. Anybody else have thoughts? Go ahead, Lorraine. Share, please.
Oh, what a story. What an adventure. What a healing. Thank you so much for sharing your vulnerability and the transformation into your art. What
Mhm.
a story that is.
Yeah, it's just
This is the art that I've been doing. I don't know if you can see it. Oh, it's kind of blurry. Hang on. Put it by
Is,
my. Oh, there you go. So I paint and I draw. I don't know. I'm putting it next to my face because I think the camera picks up my face.
Oh,
So I do stuff like this now, which is really cool because before I would just say, I can't draw.
Oh,
oh,
Everybody can draw. It's like saying you can't sing, right? We all have these kind of stories.
oh, it's beautiful. And thank you for sharing the 3 quickie steps,
Oh,
because
of course. Yes.
quickie treatment for ourselves, because we're living lives and we can breathe and we can be curious and we can find out what's going on and we can love our little inner child. And my name is Lorraine. Her name's Lorraine, little
Oh,
Lorraine.
cute.
And,
Cute.
I'm talking to her a lot. And oh my God, I just love her. I just love her. And I've only been doing this for such a short time, and I'm so excited. And I feel like a gift that's evolving for me is intuition. And I'm
Mm,
so, so grateful. And I think I've never really trusted that about myself, but I can totally see it's awesome. You know?
mhm.
yeah. Stick with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Good.
I want to say I really appreciate you showing how those shadows can develop in the later years, because I had not heard that before, and I've known it in my gut that so many people, when I'm working or coaching them through something and for myself, a lot of those things happen between the years of 8 and 21. Not so much the younger years. There are a few younger ones, but that was really important to remember, because I think new brain research is really showing that the brain does not mature until much later than we realized. And that's really supporting that. So that was a good
Yeah.
point.
Good. Thank you. Good. I'm glad it served you. Yep. Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah. Uh, Thank you for what you offered today. I find it interesting because I didn't know you when I read the article about who was going to be presenting. But I said, well, it's on a good topic, curiosity. And what amazed me was that recently, this is the book that I had written. It's
Oh,
called Curiosity Gateway. It says a gateway into knowing, but it's really the gateway from knowing about to knowing. And it's taken a long, many
beautiful.
years of resistance and looking at myself more honestly, and finally discovering by being quiet and doing more listening and less talking, uh, and observing others, to realize that we are all spiritual beings and we all have something to offer, and
Yes.
that this is a great path towards finding out who we are and why we're here, because we all have a definite purpose.
Yes.
And mine are smaller these days. I'm less grandiose, I guess you'd say. I'm satisfied with being who I am in the small ways that I am, and that's enough. Um, but I really enjoyed your talk today. And I have one other just a suggestion, that
Yes, ma'am.
for any of us when we're on these calls, make sure we mute ourselves,
Mm,
because when we don't, every reaction we have is showing up and it interrupts, and there's a bright light around our box, and it's a distraction. So just a suggestion.
thank you, Steve.
Thank you again.
That's very mindful. And thank you for your comments. I love the synchronicity. There are no accidents. And I absolutely, I mean, Teilhard de Chardin, we're spiritual beings in human form, not the other way around, right? I'm paraphrasing that. Um, but it's true. We're all spiritual beings. And Lorraine, you were talking about your intuition.
Yeah.
That's your higher self, your inner Christ talking to you. And
Mhm.
I'm in a doctorate program studying energy medicine right now and learning all about that. And it's just amazing, just amazing. So keep at that, because there's so much more depth to what you just, by the way, I have intuition. So you're reclaiming that part of you. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. And Anybody else want to share? I'm not going to call on you because I'm going to put you on the spot, but please be part of the conversation if you're willing. James.
Yeah, so I I loved it too. It's super helpful and useful, and very inspiring. So thanks. It was just what I needed today.
Awesome. Great. Yeah, I wasn't sure if the story format would serve the community. And I go, what is the one thing that people don't talk about in proper company, right? Like all the stuff that we've gone through, but this is us. This is like, I shared with you, I think that people who do their shadow work and are able to articulate it and continue to mine, and it's almost like your buff shining, and taking away all the things that are not you, which is really beautiful. So I just said, these are my personal stories. I'm sure someone will be able to relate. And that's what I was called to share. So I'm really grateful that it served you.
It really did. It was a powerful format because it showed the direct application of the theory. So
Awesome.
I mean, we get all this wonderful theory, but it's nice to see that at least in one case it actually worked, and this is how it worked for you.
Yeah. It shadow work changed my life. I mean, this program changed my life. And the first time I went through it when I was in ministerial school, by the way, I was pregnant with my second child after I was accepted to ministerial school. So, and I did the shadow work program, through that, and it just didn't affect me as much as it affected me this time around. And this time around, it really just, spoke to me, and I need to do this not just for me to really get. I'm going to use the word sober. I don't drink, but sober in my head, in my being, in my consciousness, to be integrated, because the world needs us. The world needs us. They need us to grow up and be clear, and it starts with ourselves. And if I'm not willing to talk about it to my people here, when am I going to be willing to talk about it? So I just decided, you know what? I'm going to share this because I think that it's relatable. And I'm really, really, really glad to hear about the feedback that you've provided. Thank you. Anything else?
Yes. I would like to thank Big Evelyn and Nene for showing up today and sharing so beautifully and helping us learn about our own inner work and our own shadow work. And thank you.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Absolutely. It's such a pleasure. It's a privilege, and um I'm doing it to heal myself, but I'm also doing it to um change the karma for my children,
Mm-hmm.
and also change the karma for my ancestors.
Yeah.
So it's the lineage thing. And by the way, hopefully I can affect some kind of change in the world, right? So I don't know. We're all guided. You know this, right? We're all guided. Everywhere we go, we're all guided. We just need to listen. So me working on my shadow stuff is getting all that stuff that's not me out of the way. So can you imagine if the politicians did shadow work?
Oh
Wow.
my.
What a different world we would live in, right? That's my vision. You gotta, like Phil Moore says, you gotta pray rightly. So I'm not gonna pray any other way than to see it right. I'm gonna see it right. That they awaken to, because that would be something.
Yeah.
That would be something. Yeah. You guys are so quiet. What's going on? We're done, by the way. You don't have to hang out, but we're here in community, and you're quiet, and I just see your faces, and it's beautiful. So,
I'll make one more comment. What
Yeah.
I noticed and resonated with in your story, as I bet every single one of us has at least three big stories that affected You know, we have a lot of little stories, but I think there's 3 that show up and up and up and up, and we're going, wow, those were really critical ones. And that's something that we don't focus on a lot because it kind of borders into psychology and counseling and, but I think for those of us who have practiced this a while, you start realizing that, yeah, there are the 3 biggies that come from, 3 major events in my life that really imprinted, right? That's important work. I think people need to really have the opportunity to focus on that.
Yeah, thank you, Linda. That's good noticing. And guess what? All those things that imprinted, that's not the truth of your being.
Exactly.
It's not. It's just something that you experienced that, like for the longest time, I was a refugee. I identified with that. And then one day I was with a really conscious friend. She goes, honey, you're not a refugee. That was an experience you went through. Oh, right. Thank you. What a beautiful friend to be able to point that out to me. It was so obvious to her, but I had been carrying that identity. I don't identify with that anymore. That was I identify as being a really ambitious soul to choose the parents that I chose in a part of the country that was there and like had this harrowing adventure. And it's just part of my soul, my spirit, my spirit has come to live and explore and heal and take advantage of the experience that is life. I mean, it's such a privilege. So why not say, yay, I see myself. And also I can chill out and say, whew, I need a break. I'm going to go do something calm now, like art or something like that. So you don't have to identify with those 3 major experiences that happened to you because that's not the truth of your being, right? You are that Christ light in expression, and it's life is happening in, through, and as you. Those are just experiences. That's what we need to keep in mind. That's what we need to tell our inner child. Like, how do we heal our inner child? That we know intellectually as adults that was just an experience. And then you have your heart to heart with that inner child to say, oh, honey, that's not the truth. So let's see it differently. And how are we going to see this differently? Ask that question and you will get the answer divinely to help you shift whatever you're stuck on at any given moment. So beautiful. Such a beautiful work. Thank you for sharing that, Linda. Yeah.
Well, I like the emphasis on the inner child. I had really not gotten that before. I was thinking of my younger self. and But yes, you think about the inner child, that really shifts to a more loving, accepting place.
Yeah.
Um,
Thank you, Carrie. Yeah.
yeah, I haven't had any, major experiences like you described. Sometimes I say that, did I have a happy childhood? Well, yes, but I was not a happy child.
Yep.
But somehow I just didn't sync with what was going on.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I do like this was very good. Yeah.
Good. And
Yes,
Carrie,
curiosity,
yes,
It's,
and we each have our curriculum.
yeah.
And it's tailor-made specific to your soul's purpose. They're there not to trip you up, but they're there to help you rise. And so you can't compare your childhood with anybody else's because that's not even fair, right? So your curriculum is your curriculum, and you're doing your thing, and I'm doing my thing. Mine just happens to be like Fantasia for some reason, and it's like, okay, thank you, God. I know it's good. Let's see what else is next. Get curious about that. Oh, I'm so glad. Yeah. The inner child, oftentimes when I'm triggered or unhappy about something, I'm like, oh, May's having a fit again. What is it, honey? What's bothering you? Start asking questions. And then she'll answer. Like, I don't know. I don't know. And then eventually. Especially after doing a worksheet. It's like sometimes you're like so reluctant to do one, but it's the best thing for you. Anyone have that? It's like, I do that again. But after you do it, it's like, oh, okay, got it. So
Can I just say one thing? First of all, like Linda, I'm really glad to hear about that shadow coming on in your teen years, because that's where a lot of mine came on. And I was always, kind of hesitant to think, well, I thought it was all supposed to happen when I was much younger, which a lot of it did. But yes, I really appreciate you bringing that out, that that shadow can come on during your teen years too, because it was a very hard time for me. And also, I'm inspired to name my inner child.
Oh, good.
So I'm gonna see what the Holy Spirit brings to me for a name.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's great. Yeah, I don't know that the founders teach from that because it gets complicated. I've just done my own research because I'm in a program,
Mhm.
and those are formidable years. You're not going to tell me they're not formidable because I created some identity from that period of time, right?
Well, at the very least, it reinforces what's going before.
Yeah.
So the teenage experiences are really important, I think, to go back and examine.
Yeah.
Which actually brings up another point, because the things that form us as an infant and young child, you generally don't have conscious memories of those times. But as Carrie said, you recreate those scenarios and later events in life
Yeah.
that really cement them in your awareness of this is who I am. And that's what I see happening, is that you have this something that you've heard about maybe as a child, that you experienced this, but you don't recall the experience. And then
Mhm.
as I would say mainly teenager, but in the
Yeah.
teenage years, something comes up that reinforces that exact same thing.
Right. And it's your RAS, your reticular activating system going, oh, that's right. That's right. You're gathering, the evidence to support whatever your thinking is, right, wrong, or indifferent. Okay, so let's take a breath and let's pray out. Go ahead and close your outer eyes as you're called to. And just receive some breath into your body temple. Just get grounded right now. Come back to your heart center. Feel grounded to Mother Earth here. Breathing into your heart and seeing the expansion of your heart just inflate with every breath that you take. And allow that heart space to be love, to envelop your entire being where you're sitting. See this energetic field that you're surrounded by, the love that's generated through your heart space, through your soul space, who you've come to be right here, right now. And we just bask there for a breath or two, knowing that there are individuals, but not really. We're just a collective group, that we're all of the same mind, that we've come to play in this playground. And so we're connected in this beautiful, loving energy, this work of ours, and that we're coming home, not just to ourselves, but to each other. And as we're in this holy space, we just give thanks for all the people who are doing this work, especially the founders, to have the consciousness to bring this program to life so that we could practice it, share it, evolve it, grow it, and bring it to the world. May we all come home to ourselves so that we can bring light to the world. And so, for our connection today, for our time together, for the stories that we've shared, I know that I am totally blessed. I am so, so grateful. And I'll be holding you all in prayer for I don't know how long. We've connected. I'm so grateful. And so, for all the prayers that I said tonight, all the time that we've been sharing our hearts and all the things that are in our heart that we've yet to share, we just give thanks. We claim this and receive it with great love and great joy. And so it is. Amen.
It is.